A brilliant game. And full credit to the Dragons for the manner in which they started it in that opening quarter. A couple of really good tries from Wainwright and Rosser, but for the lion's share of the game, it was Ulster's night. A dominant performance, lots to admire about their backline play. They've registered half a dozen tries. Final score once again then at the Affidea Stadium. Ulster 42, the Dragons 21. So a nice finish for Tom Stewart, a player who we spoke about the importance of this season for him, and one or two others as well. James Hume, and coming back from injury interrupted campaigns, but we know all about his quality. Simple try in the end for a player of his class against a fatigued Dragon side who punched themselves out in defence. Richie Murphy saying, they've had those couple of headouts in pre-season, but he'll use the opening couple of games in particular to try and work out a few creases in the red heat of battle in the URC. Edinburgh next week, and they'll go there, you would imagine, pretty confident with what he's seen so far, and maybe one or two things to work on, certainly defensively, but the green shoots are there in attack, Stevie.
Yeah, they sure are, and the back line, if they can get the front foot ball, as you see there, the scrum in the second half took control. Even watching the Leinster game earlier on today, how difficult it was for the likes of Robbie Henshaw even to get into the game, because the line out and the scrum just wasn't functioning. So that was a huge bit of Ulster success tonight, was how solid that set piece became throughout the game, but also some of the combinations. Doki there, Murphy 9 and 10, very fluid for most of the match, and obviously the impact of the bench. But it's the other guys to come back, as you mentioned, Balogun, Cock, Jude Postlethwaite, a couple more as well there in waiting. So yeah, it's a good night for Ulster Rugby, but I think you got to say, give the Dragons a bit of credit here tonight, Conor, because I think large parts of last season they would have rolled over, conceded maybe 4 or 5 more tries, but there was a sticky patch there. They'll rue their chances. That forward pass to Rodri Williams, that would have got them a bonus point, but fair play. They'll go home, they'll take a lot out of this game also.
And Ulster will feel as well, 1 or 2 passes had a stuck and gone to hand, been a bit better time that they might have come away with 7 or 8 themselves. Not to be getting too greedy, I'm sure they'll be very pleased with the scoreline they've put up this evening. That back row contributed excellently. Cormac Nzuchukwu, David McCann, Nick Timoney, and then that little bit of impetus off the bench from Augustus. So much more to come from him, you feel, as well. But they're looking for a fast start after a really poor finish. Remember, cast your mind back to the tail end of last season when they fell apart really across the last 4 games, losing all 4 of them to finish 10 points off the top 8, and with that falling out of contention for the playoffs and, crucially, of course, the Champions Cup. It remains to be seen what the Challenge Cup will hold for them this season. Could it be a blessing in disguise? Who knows? But Ulster Rugby belong at the top table, and it's been a bitter pill to swallow over the summer months. Richie Murphy so keen all week to say, look, he's sick and tired of answering questions about last season. That's done and dusted. It's a new group in terms of the coaching staff, some new faces, and he said as well a little bit of work on the culture behind the scenes, which I think is important. We certainly saw the work rate out there from 1 to 23 this evening.
Yeah, we sure did. It's working for one another, working hard with the ball and without the ball, and it's to show the supporters what it means. It's just not a game of rugby. It's not, and that's how the successful Ulster teams in the past treated every single match. It's about going out there, giving 100%, making sure every supporter that's down there and out the gate tonight see that in abundance, and I think the Ulster boys done that.
Okay, we are ready to hear from the player of the match. Zach Ward is standing by with Paul Marshall.
I'm joined by 2 rather large individuals here on the sideline. One's a second row, one's a winger. Ian, could you please give Zach his BKT URC man of the match? Zach, I'll start with you. You're not just a big, powerful animal. You're able to sidestep. Jacob's the same. You guys looked so dangerous. How enjoyable was that for you?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Inside centres and 10s just put it in the plate for us, and we just try and finish off all the hard work that they do. Dragons made it difficult for us. Shut our space down well, but just happy we got a win in the end, and good way to start the season.
It looked like the intent was there to get the ball into space early. Was that something that you took into the game? Certainly yourself, Jacob, Mikey, Laurie, all getting the ball with time.
Yeah, definitely. With Mark and stuff coming in, we want to play the space. Just not wait for pictures to unfold. Just when they're there, take it and be brave. That's what we keep saying this all week. So I think we did that for most of the game today, and it paid off.
Conceding after about 10 seconds, one of the quickest tries, I'm sure, in the URC. What was said under the posts?
Not much, to be fair. Everyone was a little bit taken back, but felt we kind of got ourselves back to neutral. We talk about that all the time. If things don't go our way, get ourselves back to neutral. And I think we did that pretty well. We bounced back, and they got another try in the first half, but I think we kind of doubled up on it and shut it off.
And a great way to finish the game, a try for Tom Stewart.
Yeah, it was class. I didn't think he was going to get over, but he just snuck out of nowhere. So, no, delighted to get final try on the boards and give us good 5 points going into next week.
Great start for you, Zach. Well done on your performance.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Zach. Just the result that Ulster needed to exercise most of the ghosts from last season. Something for sure to build on. Would you agree with that, Ian Madigan?
Yeah, absolutely. It was interesting hearing some of the backs talking about playing best space, and you could tell, listening to Zach Ward there, he really enjoyed it there tonight because he got his hands on the ball loads, in particular in that 20-minute spell before half-time. That's what you want as a winger. And then in the second half, when the game was somewhat in the bag, they went more to a kicking game, and we got to see how effective he is in the air. So big improvement in certain areas from Ulster tonight in attack. And then defensively, I thought they got off the line much more effectively, got up in the face of the Dragons, put them under pressure. Albeit conceding 3 tries, 2 of them were maybe a bit fortunate. The first try off the restart, and then a fantastic kick through.
How were you feeling about that from a Dragons perspective? For a long time, that second half, it was 7-all.
Yeah, in phases, positives to take away. They did move the ball. You could see when they got a few offloads in, when they want to play with tempo, they seem comfortable playing that way. The unfortunate thing is that physicality element where you come against the bigger teams, they just control the speed of ball far better. Ulster traditionally don't win the ball, don't get many jackals over the ball, so you might have more ball to play with against teams like Ulster, but there's stuff they can take away both sides of the ball. They just need to make sure that they stay in the fight, and errors of carrying teams up the back of the field with penalties against knock-ons, that's what costs you games of rugby, and I think they need to shake that habit from their play.
Thanks for now, boys. Let's get some more reaction from the Ulster boys. I think Paul Marshall's amongst them.
Yeah, Stuart McCluskey's been waiting with me. It was getting cold there. You boys were giving a lot of analysis. Stuart, a 42-21 bonus point win. How happy are you with that?
Yeah, happy with the 5 points, happy with the win. I think we left a few points out there, and then a few defence things to fix up. But yeah, first game of the season, a few bits and pieces to fix, but we're happy enough.
And your centre partner tonight getting his 100th game, James Hume, he spent so much of last season injured. How great is it to have him back?
Oh, amazing. Jimmer on form is one of the best centres in the world, and it's good to see him back, fit and firing, feeling 100% again. He's done amazingly to get back from the ACL, and a bit of a back issue he had at the end of last year, but he looks great, and hopefully see the best in this season.
It looks like an exciting backline with everybody on the pitch today. It looks like you're going to try and get the ball into space early. Is that the Mark Sexton influence?
Yeah, it's not just the backs though. The forwards are doing great work. Really worked hard this summer on a few things like getting up and seeing the passes earlier, getting back into shape earlier, and it's allowing us backs to get a bit more space, like you saw tonight. So long may it continue.
Brilliant. I'll let you go back to your dad duties there. I saw your little boy. Well done, Stu. I think we're going to try and grab Cormac Ezechugu here. I think he's maybe mid-chat. Izzy, sorry to interrupt you, fellas. Izzy, try tonight, getting the ball out in space. Is that you hanging out in the wing looking for the tries, or is that part of the tactics?
It's a small bit of both. We've lined up, I said, it's a lot of fun out there, a bit of space, get to run. Unfortunately, knocked one on from Jack. It was a nice pass. It was a bit slow, but then down the engine kind of got free now. Absolutely, when I'm in space, absolutely love it, so yeah.
And a try for all three in the back row. It looks like you all had a lot of involvements trying to get the ball in space. Yeah. Is it an exciting brand you're playing?
It's class. It's like this year, especially compared to last year, we're a massive. There's a massive difference in the team and how we play. Like lads are working early, working around the corners, and like as you see, then we can get tries. So it's class.
It's great to see you out there fit, Izzy, and scoring tries. Well done. See you in a minute. There's Tom O'Toole. He actually had a fantastic game. I'm going to grab Tom. Tom, can I bother you for a second? Tom, I thought you were outstanding today, as did the guys in comms. A couple of great poach penalties. Scrums were good. Are you pleased with that?
Yeah, it's a good first start for us. It was the first game at home, and Dragons had a few good new signings this year, so we knew we'd be coming over and physical and full of energy. So, yeah, glad the way it started for us. Obviously, they got a quick score on the board, which was a bit unexpected, but I thought we bounced back well as a team, and we got composed well and then finished well in that first half, and then we could have been a bit more clinical in that second half, but still finished strong, and it was nice to finish with Tom Stewart with a try coming over, so played for the full 80 minutes, which was great.
Amazing. And next week you're away to Edinburgh. Will you need to maybe up it a couple of gears, do you think, for that?
Yeah, absolutely. Last game of the season last year, we finished in Edinburgh with a loss, so that's still hurting. That still was disappointing for us. So I'm sure they've built well this season, and we obviously played them a couple of weeks ago in the preseason game. They were physical, so we were expecting that one. We played them away next weekend.
And Friday Night Lights, it's hard to beat, isn't it?
Yeah, it's great to be back Friday Night Lights with the home crowd, first one. So yeah, delighted.
You were brilliant tonight. Well done, Tom.
Cheers, thanks very much. Cheers.
I'll throw it back to you, Graham, because all the players, I think, are now starting to run away from me. They know that I'm coming.
I don't blame them. Thank you, Marshy. That's the 9th consecutive win for Ulster against the Dragons. A result that was expected, a result that was demanded. But I'm sure Richie Murphy will still see plenty of room for improvement. We'll get his thoughts, and we'll hear from the Dragons when we come back. Welcome back. Disappointing night for the Dragons overall here in Belfast, but a very memorable one nonetheless, I'm sure, for Matthew Screech, their second row. He becomes just the second ever Dragons player to hit a double century of caps. 200 appearances for his club. Wonderful night for Matthew, although he did end up on the losing side. Let's talk about him first of all. Only the second player ever in Dragons history. He is Welsh capped once,
yeah,
a couple of times, was he?
Yeah, great achievement.
Great servant to the club.
Yeah, no, 200 games. He went away to Cardiff for a year, I think, and then came back. And 200 appearances for any club is a great achievement. And only the second person to do it. And the boys put in a shift for him tonight. Unfortunately, didn't get the result for him, but there's positives they can take away, and he'll remember this now for the rest of his career.
28-14 at half-time, and Ulster scored, within a minute and a half, Stevie. We'll have a quick look at that Nathan Dukes try. At that moment, you thought they would run away with it. Didn't quite work out like that, I know, but
yeah,
looking good at this point.
Yeah, and Jonathan said in commentary that the Dragons had actually put in a half-decent defensive shift there for a few phases, and we're knocking Ulster back, but it's just the little lack of concentration. I think it's Rio Dara who gets caught up in the breakdown. They don't number up, and Zach Ward has the time to have a look and just pin the ears back, get that 4 or 5 metres down the touchline, and then there's a couple of lads that could have went in for the score. Doki was the one that got that. So yeah, it felt like almost the game was put to bed there, but I have to say the Dragons, they stuck in there. We've seen a bit of fight from them, and if they go away to a few teams, and if they have that fight at home a few more times this season as well, they're going to get a couple more results than they did last season.
That left-hand pass from Zach Woods, he was a bit shaky after that one in the first half where he chucked in the touch. He made sure of that one, didn't he?
He guided it out there. I think there was nerves in the ground for that pass, wasn't there? Given what had happened in the first half, it wasn't. There's not too many people wanted him to make it, just pin his ears back. Let's have a look at the Tom Stewart try that I suppose was that wrapped up the game for Ulster. 83rd minute. It was 7-7 in the second half at this point, Stevie. This was needed, I think, really.
Yeah, it was coming, though. It was coming, Graham, because Dragons had numerous opportunities to get out of dodge, relieve the pressure, and they couldn't. They lost a couple of line-outs, and then this one obviously was crooked, but doesn't matter. Really good transfer to the back. Tom Stewart's always going to be hovering around there. He wants to get the ball into his hands as quickly as possible, and then the big guys up front try and get an extra yard or two, but they didn't need to because the gap just opened. And he scored a lot of tries for Ulster. He burst onto the scene. He scored a couple of hat tricks, I think, early on in his career.
He set the record, didn't he?
Yeah, he set the record for one of the years. Picked up a couple of injuries. He stalled a bit. John Andrew, who's a solid player, has come in and played reasonably well also. But Rob Herring still seems to be number one. And Mads touched on it pre-match. Guys like Tom Stewart, they need to up their game every single week for Ulster to have a good season.
And maybe at times last season, Mads, that's what was missing here. There wasn't enough competition for places. Seems that there is now.
Yeah, there is competition for places. You could see how fired up Tom O'Toole was. Tom Stewart, wanting to make an impact off the bench. In the back line, James Hume knows that Jude Postlethwaite's breathing down his neck. Stuart Moore waiting in the wings. So there is depth there in Ulster, and that's what they need. You need to have a competitive squad. But no, I thought the guys did step up on last season's poor performances, and full credit to them. 5 points, good winning start.
Do you know who would be good to ask about the competition for places in this Ulster squad? This man.
Hi, Richie.
Richie Murphy. Congratulations, Richie.
Thank you.
We were just talking about the competition for places that you now have in this squad, typified by Tom Stewart coming on and feeling he had to score and getting the score. That's obviously something that you must be very pleased with, and you hope that continues this season.
Yeah, I suppose last year we struggled on that front. I think we've 84% of our senior panel available to us at the moment, which is obviously massive. We still have a few long-term injuries to come back, but in certain positions we're starting to look very strong, and competition will drive training and obviously hopefully drive our performance towards the rest of the season.
Was it your intention to start with the strongest squad possible in your first game? Was that always the plan in the last few months?
Yeah, definitely. We've been building up to this obviously for a good few weeks. A lot of work went in, and obviously to concede off the restart wasn't part of the plan. But lads showed got a little bit wobbly there for a couple of minutes, but then showed some good composure, came back, put some good rugby together, and look. It wasn't perfect, but it's a good start. We got 5 points at home when we move on.
Last point for me, because you raised it, that start. I was saying to Paul Marshall up there, who would be a rugby coach? You spend months resetting, setting everything up, and then something like that happens.
Yeah, it's pretty tough because, like, you know, our players played in the air. He's up at the ball, and Rio Dyer jumps up into him. So, you know, we would have felt that should have been a penalty. But, like, these things happen. We move on. And, you know, I thought after that we settled down quite well.
Yeah, Richie, for me, I thought in particular the final 25 minutes of the first half, I thought Ulster played, you know, really good stuff. And from talking to a couple of the players and hearing you talk about it last year, playing best space and even playing under you, I know that that's your philosophy. Like, what does that mean for you as a coach?
Yeah, no, we're trying to get the ball to. We've got obviously got some very exciting outside backs, and trying to create one-on-ones for them, trying to create a bit of space in the outside channels for them to run into is what we're trying to do. You know what I mean? You know, I think it's really important that, you know, at times in that first half we got stuck in the middle of the park a little bit, and we need to just, you know, have the balance between playing and applying pressure. But look, we're first hit out. We only had one pre-season friendly, so we're happy with the win.
No, that will come. And the other big area of improvement that I saw, I thought the line speed in defence was definitely more aggressive than last year. Is that something that you've been working on?
Yeah, we've gone after that in thing. We're actually a bit mixed on that at the moment. There was some good bits in it, but probably over the course of the game we probably weren't overly happy with what we produced. A couple of soft tries that we can do better in. But look, you know, you're never going to win it in week one. So it's a starting point. We go to Edinburgh next week. We know we're going to have to be better over there.
Yeah.
Stevie, do you want to ask about the man of the match? Because
no, Zach was brilliant. You know, he really was, and I think his athleticism just as a player. But what's he been like to learn going from a back row to get into the professional game, coming from sevens, completely different environment, and then having to run out as, you know, one of the big guys now for Ulster Rugby on the wing. Has there been a lot of coachables for him there, has there?
Yeah, I think there's still a lot that he has to learn, you know what I mean, about the game. But, you know, you put the ball in his hand, like, I think, you know, here's a guy who had his debut against Bordeaux and had the most run meters than any player in the European Cup that weekend. Yeah. So it gives you an idea of what he's like. You know, he's got a bit of a learn in and around the backfield, in about some of his defensive positioning, but, you know, he's an absolute handful on the edge.
Yeah, sure is.
I have to say, I thought the work rate of your forwards tonight gave your outside backs that extra bit of space with the ball movement, even on when the, you know, receiving kicks. I thought it was fantastic. Is there something you've worked on through the summer in pre-season?
Yeah, definitely. It's a big part of the game. You know what I mean? We want to get our forwards back on their feet, get them facing forward, making sure that they're connecting with each other in order to give us options to play to that space that Mads was talking about earlier. So that's been a big part of what we've been working on. And in fairness, you know, Mark Sex has been driving that really hard, and their understanding and their skill set as well of, you know, when do I need to go to the line, when can I play early, and all those things are starting to flow quite nicely for us.
Yeah, I was actually watching from behind. I was able to see how the team would compress right in when we didn't necessarily have gain line, and then have the you know, the awareness, head on a swivel. Right, we've got gain line. Now's the time to space out. And then it was the interchanging of the likes of Cormac and Dave McCann. They're like extra centres really in that back line.
Yeah, two very athletic forwards. You know, I suppose, you know, that's one of the things that we have. Harry Sheridan there in the second row. He's trimmed down a bit this year. He's moving really well. Cormac moves well. Big Matty Dalton that came off the bench is a serious athlete. So we want to play to our strengths, and that's where they are. Obviously, Jarno coming on for his first run out. He's been a fair bit behind in relation to getting ready to play, so he'll really have learned a lot from this 25 minutes, and looking forward to seeing a bit more from him as well.
Great.
Likewise.
Richie, appreciate you joining us. Thank you very much. Best of luck for the rest of the
Cheers,
season.
Richie.
Good luck against Edinburgh next week.
See you next week. Cheers.
We'll let Richie go, and we'll hear from his opposite man, Philo Tia.
Philo, a 42-21 defeat. It feels like the Dragons deserved more from that.
Yeah, we were probably a little bit of worse enemy parts of the game, and our lack of discipline sort of kept Ulster. We gifted a couple of opportunities. They're probably one of the best teams that when you get into year 22, they're pretty clinical and go away with points. So a lot of good stuff in the game that we can build on. We've just got to just keep improving on holding on to the ball. Set piece couldn't really launch off. A few things to tidy up before we meet the Sharks at home and on Friday night.
And you talk about some of the positive things. Certainly in attack, it looked like there were some green shoots there, line breaks, offloads, perhaps unfortunate with a couple of forward passes to not have got a bonus point.
Yeah, some interesting decisions, and then, there was some positive moments in around our attack, and we applied a lot of pressure against Ulster. Kick off 10 seconds, Wayno scores under the post, and probably a lesson as well is just making sure we go to the next task and roll the sleeves up.
And how excited will you be to get back to Rodney Parade? You've had 2 wins in pre-season. I know you're disappointed tonight, but it feels like there's definitely something coming from the Dragons.
We just got to keep working really hard, learn from our mistakes, and then keep building. It's game one, and it's really just instilling belief in the things we're doing, and there's a lot of good things. So we'll keep crafting and keep building.
Thanks for your time, Philo. Thank you.
How much do you know about him, Jonathan? Is he a ranter and raver if he's disappointed with the performance? It sounds fairly even and fairly balanced there.
He does seem to have a balance, but I wouldn't like to see him lose his temper either, to be honest. Playing against him a few times when he was at the Ospreys, I think he'll definitely have the respect of the dressing room, and they'll listen. And you can see he's trying to build a team that can stick in that fight, has a high work rate and does the basics really well. But, it's going to take a bit of time. But I think, he's a man who knows what he wants, and he'll make sure that the boys understand that as well.
Well, they certainly did stay in the fight, because after Nathan Doak got that early second half try that we saw, 6 minutes later they were back in it. Talk us through this, Lewis Hughes' score.
Yeah, obviously the disappointment for the Wyn Jones try to be disallowed, and then another opportunity, and again patience and execution of roles leads to the try. This is an area where it's a big part of rugby at the moment, and the ability to score from close out and be efficient, and the Dragons showed that tonight when the opportunity came. So it's it was at the time where you thought they could get back into it, but unfortunately they didn't get another opportunity to sniff one out.
Yeah, and I think they get it back to 35-21 when the game could have got away from them, and arguably they should have and could have scored one, if not two more tries. There was obviously the forward pass that was fairly adjudicated, that it probably didn't need to be a forward pass. They were through, they were clean through. And then the other one, when they had a lovely little line-out play there, and the referee was right in line, he thought it was forward, but on another day that doesn't get picked up. And then suddenly you're going, right, well, we're going into the last 20 minutes of this game, and it's a 7-point game, and suddenly we're chasing, maybe can we get a draw? Yeah. So the 42-21 maybe flattered Ulster a fraction in the end.
Yeah, I mean, they've crossed the line, not just nearly scored, they were over the line a couple of times. There's 14 points left behind.
Yeah, so they'll go away with confidence from certain parts of that game. It's just building it to a full 80 minutes. I think that's what lets them down, is that when they do go off the boil, they ship a lot of points, a lot of meters, and give teams easy opportunities. And for that, you want teams to really feel that they're working hard for their points. The Dragons showed great patience, 10 phases or so, where Ulster, with Zach Ward, saw the gap down the touchline, just sneaked in easy try. It's that those two different types of try that probably you feel that Dragons are working hard to score theirs and giving away points easily there.
So where are their wins going to come from this season, Stevie? Went through all of last season, only one win, and that actually came in the very first game, so that was a long 8 months without a single victory. Where could they pick up points, do you think, this season?
Well, they'll be kicking themselves because they probably should have picked up 1, if not 2 points tonight. Had a shot at maybe even getting a draw, but that's got away from them. I think you can coach rugby players to be more skillful. You can coach rugby players to be more intelligent, think on their feet. But what you can't coach in a lot of rugby players is having belief and having the physicality and sometimes the passion to go out and represent where you're from. And I think Filo Tiatia will have identified a lot of that last season in a lot of those games that they lost, and pick a lot of people that sometimes wanted that little bit more. And when the games are really, really tight, you want the person beside you that wants it that little bit more, not the flashy guy that might pull a rabbit out of a hat once or twice a season. So, I think that's what he's finding out about his squad over the last 12 months. And if they get themselves into that similar position when they're at home, the crowd's behind them, maybe they'll have that extra bit of grunt, that extra bit of experience, a few other guys that have been brought in from other clubs last season, and they can get themselves another win or two. But it's going to be tough because they do make a lot of mistakes as well.
So that's Ulster and the Dragons. Earlier on, we watched Leinster down in Stormers. We didn't get a chance to hear from Leo Cullen, and we definitely want to hear from him because it's one of the worst results that he will have experienced in his tenure. Let's get his post-match thoughts after the defeat against the Stormers.
Leo, your assessment of the game?
Listen, we were pretty poor now overall, I thought. So, listen, credit to the Stormers. I thought they were pretty outstanding today. We've a challenge at the start of the season for a lot of guys coming in and playing their first game of the season. But listen, I don't want to make excuses because we were, as I said, very much second best in pretty much every department today. So, for us now, making sure we look after ourselves and put a good plan together, because we're going to need to turn the page next week quickly into Bulls in Pretoria, which again will be another serious challenge for us. But we've some young guys out there today learning the hard way. Listen, as I said, full credit to Stormers. I just thought they were far better than us today.
Before we get to the Bulls for next week, a couple of threatening instances, 2 minutes here, 2 minutes there for you today.
Sorry, say that again?
Before we get to the Bulls, a couple of threatening instances for your team today, 2 minutes here, 2 minutes there, but not quite coming together.
Yeah, listen, we started the game okay. Listen, we get some access down in the 22, just not quite accurate enough. So, and that sort of stayed with us through the whole game. So, as I said, the Stormers put us under a huge amount of pressure, and we just didn't manage it particularly well. So we weren't, in terms of the physical contact, it's a simple game at the end of the day, attack v defence, and I just thought Stormers were much sharper across the board in all the contact points. And when you're losing the momentum, then we're just on the back foot the whole game. So, and then we're still misfiring on a few different set piece parts as well. So, listen, hugely disappointed. And we just need to work hard now this week. As I said, it's round 1 of 18, long way to go in this competition. But yeah, listen, we haven't conceded a score like that in quite a while. So listen, the guys are hurting inside the dressing rooms. We have a good chunk of fans that travel. It's a long way for them to come. So for us though, what can we control now is making sure we prepare well this week and put in a much better performance against the Bulls.
Let's talk about that. What are you expecting from the Bulls next week?
Well, it'll be a similar type of challenge, won't it? Like a round set piece, huge physical challenge. So, as I said, like a lot of our guys playing their first game of the season, I think we will get better as we progress through these weeks. We always knew it was going to be a challenging start for us this season because, listen, the South African teams have a little bit of cohesion coming off the tail end of the Curry Cup, and obviously we know the Stormers played the Sharks in the pre-season game as well. A lot of guys from us are coming in cold into this game. So, listen, we'll try and build on the cohesion. As I said, week together away. Obviously we travelled this week, but listen, we just weren't at the races today. We were really, really poor, and I would think there's a lot more in this group. I would like to think so. Listen, we've come off a very successful season last year, and we've had a proper punch in the nose there today. So it's how we respond now and get back on the horse and put in a big performance this week.
Unlucky on the result, and all the best in Pretoria.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
I think he's right. There's definitely more in that group. Cohesion is the big word, the word he repeated several times in that interview. Was that the main problem for Leinster this evening?
Yeah, he touched on it before the game, the challenges that Leinster had in this pre-season. Players were being drip-fed back in. You know, players coming back from the season ending, players coming back from the international tour during the summer, and then players obviously coming back from the Lions. So they did struggle with their cohesion today, but as Leo Cullen said himself, they were second best in nearly every area. Their line-out didn't fire. They were under massive pressure at scrum time. Their maul defence was poor, particularly in the second half. And they lost the aerial battle. The Stormers, full credit to them. They kicked the ball really accurately, created breaking ball, won the turnover, and they were able to work their way up the field really quickly. And they had that Leinster team broken in the second half, and they really ran riot. As you can see here, Leinster were at 6s and 7s.
It was a very un-Leinster-like performance from them. You know, normally they're very well structured, stick to their guns. Their kicking game is extremely accurate. Prendergast was good in the first half, but in the second half, you know, the kicking game wasn't as effective. And, you know, Stormers did take it to them. Physicality was huge throughout the full 80 minutes, and it was relentless. And, you know, in modern rugby now, you know, that physical battle is key to winning games. And the Stormers showed that by moving the ball confidently as well.
Stevie, very briefly, not a huge surprise that the Stormers beat Leinster in Cape Town. That's the third time in a row they've done that. But a huge surprise of Leinster being nilled, surely.
Yeah, it's just the manner of the defeat. And I think it's taken us all by surprise. And especially Leo Cullen, when the reporter there said unlucky tonight, you could see he laughed. There was no unlucky about it. They got absolutely demolished in every asset of their play. And you know, I think you got to give a lot of credit to the Stormers. You know, they played brilliantly. They brought the physicality. They got the crowd up, and you know, they're going to rock on into round 2.
Stevie, Jonathan, Ian, thank you very much. Great to have your company here this evening. For Ulster, anyway, a promising start to the season, and they've christened their new stadium with a win. 100% record they have at the Affidea Stadium. Bye for now.